Welcome everyone to my easy setup for Nodejs test using Mocha and Chai. You are here because you really care about your code, you really care about the future of your code, which is great, it's lovely. That makes you good, that makes you a good dev. Not everyone writes tests actually, yeah. Uh, I'll be showing you how you can set up Node.js with Mocha and Chai, and they are both two different tools. Mocha is an automated testing tool, while Chai is just is a utility that complements Mocha. So Chai has this. Why Chai is great because it has this great number of interfaces that makes testing more comfortable for you. You can check out on their documentation. This is Mocha's documentation. You can check out Mocha dot I think Mocha.org. Yeah, yes, Mocha.org. You could also check out Chai's documentation as well. chai.js.com/guide to help you out better understand the differences or the assertions or interfaces of Mocha and Chai. So there are many types of testing. Like we have the functionality test, we have the usability test, but the more ones for developers really are unit tests, integration tests, end-to-end tests. Yeah. So unit test is more like typically testing an individual model, or more like a function, a single function, individual functions. But integration test is like interpolating two or more unit tests. So let's say you have function A, you have function B. So you've tested function A unit test, you've tested function B unit test, and now there are some points where function A and function B comes together to achieve a certain purpose. Yeah, so for you to test that moment where they come together and what they return after they come together, that's where integration test comes in. While end-to-end test is more like testing the entire system, like the whole functionality, including the user interface as well. So in this video, we won't go deep into each of this testing, but I'll just touch a little bit of use the unit test. Should I call it unit test? But it's more like unit test. It's unit test actually. So just some little calculations to make sure that our test has been integrated successfully and is working. Yeah, so first things first, I want you to clone the repo. If you have a project up already and you just want to integrate tests into it, I don't think this applies to you. You can skip this. But if you are just trying to learn testing the whole, you can clone this repo. This is a Node.js starter kit already with Babel transpiler. So we'll be writing our code in ES6. So let's go. So I've cloned the repo, and here it is. So if you check out the app in itself, you find out that we have installed some certain dependencies. Like, yeah, we have the Babel CLI, Babel core. All of these are for our transpiler. So when we write our code in ES6, it's able to transpile it for us. So that's the only thing we have up here, aside from Expressor. And we don't have Mocha and Chai, and we haven't added up our test yet. Still using the default one that comes with package.json file. But then we have our dev. This is to start our app, and this is to build our ES6 files. So let us first of all, we will need to install these dependencies. We don't have node module up here because dependencies hasn't been installed yet, so we have to install them. So to install them, let's npm install. Yeah, this might take a while, depending on your internet speed. My internet speed is blazing. You can see that. And so the next thing to do, our packages has been installed successfully. Yeah. So next thing we have to do now is run npm run dev to make sure our starter kit is running. So using node mon, yeah, it's running. App is listening on port 6000. Cool. So what do we do next? The next thing we have to do now is to install our testing dependencies, Mocha and Chai. So let's install Mocha and Chai. I'll cancel up this server. Let's install Mocha and Chai. So to install, first of all, installing Mocha, we have to install Mocha globally first so that we can run Mocha command on our terminal and it will automatically run the test. You might choose to do that, you might not choose to do that. But we'll do that, and then we'll also run, like install Mocha as a dependency on this project. So first of all, let's install Mocha globally, /g Mocha. Yeah, cool, loading. Said it depends on your internet. My internet blazing speed. You can see it's taking hours. Cool, okay, so this is macOS issue. On Windows, you might not need to do this. So after sudo install this, so let's sudo npm install /d Mocha. I request my password. So password incorrect. So as I said, in Windows, you don't necessarily have to do this. But for macOS, you might have to do it. So our Mocha has been installed globally. So, but if you look at the dependencies, you won't find it because it was installed globally in our machine and not the project itself. But the project we have access to it, the access to the command. Next, let us install it as a dependency so that we can also either run the command on our terminal or run it on our test script. So npm install -save -d Mocha. We are also installing Chai as well. So let us add Chai to this so that we don't do it once. Like, let's just do it once. So Chai. So I'm installing this as a dev dependency. So we don't have, we won't have them among the dependencies here. We just have them in a dependency called dev dependency instead. Yeah. Cool. So we now have them as our development dependency. So they are only local to our development, our local system. So if you push them up, if it's hosted, they won't be available on the hosted platform. Okay, cool. So you can read more about dev dependencies and dependencies. If you don't know really about them, you can read more about them. You know, I'll put probably a link. I'll put a link on the description of all these links so that you can check it out as quickly, since we're trying to make life easy for people here. So we've successfully installed Mocha. We've successfully installed Chai. The next thing we have to do now is to create a test folder where all our tests will be. Did I say all our tests? I'm just writing one more test. But for now, for you, you are creating a test folder where all your tests will be. So we are creating the test folder. I'm creating it in the root file. So I won't create it in the server. You can create it in the server, but I'll create it in the root file. So let's create a folder called test. So the reason why I named it test is because Mocha runs all files found in test folder. So Mocha tries to find files or folder named test, and that's where it fills all your tests are, and it runs the test inside, or the files inside that test folder. So make sure your tests, when creating a folder, make sure it's test. You can also read more about this on their documentation as well. This is just to set it up. So let's create our first test. This will be a mock test. So I'll call it mock dot, let's call it spec. Let's say mock dash, what's wrong with this? Mock dash spec dash.js. So you can call it mock.spec.js, you can call it, but let's make sure it's either spec or test, because that also adds up to what Mocha reads. Yeah, so after Mocha sees the test folder, it also reads the test files that have this extension mostly. Either spec or test. Cool, so we finished a mock test. Now, the next thing we have to do now is to make some changes to our test file so that it could run that test. We haven't added any tests yet, but let's just add that up. So the only thing we just have to do now is to add Mocha. Yeah, so there'll be a change at this point. We'll get to see why we will need to add that change soon. But let's just go back to it, our test, and add some tests. So this is how we add the test. So you just take note of this. So first of all, import Chai. We're importing Chai from Chai. As I said, I'm writing in ES6. Yeah. And then let's import some items or some assertions from Mocha. Yeah. First thing, there are so many assertions actually, but the ones we need here is we need describe, and we also need if as well from Mocha. Yeah. So what describe does is how your test suite is structured. Mocha has to understand how your test suite is structured. So for you to structure your test suite, you have to use describe for it. It's like an umbrella to your test inside it, with your tests, several tests inside it. While what it does is identifies individual tests. So you're testing the individual tests, like your R unit test. They will all be in their own it. Yeah. So let's go on. Let's structure our tests now. So to structure our tests, first of all, we just imported Chai. We have to import an interface from Chai. There's an interface. As I said, Chai has a great number of interfaces, but the one we'll be needing from Chai right now is what we call expect. So you can read more about expect. So as well, yeah, so we've just taken out in expect from Chai. So now this is more like everything we need to start up. But there are more things, if you need to do some extraordinary or some complex testing, you have to read that documentation. It provides you with a lot of interfaces for Chai to help you out. Also with Mocha, it has a lot of assertions that could help you out. Like for instance, if you are testing out APIs, you could use Chai HTTP, or you could install super test to help you out with that. But we won't be doing any API tests now on this particular tutorial. And probably in a couple of videos, I will talk about when I have to explain more about unit tests and integration and end-to-end tests. I will give several examples of how those tests look like, and it will also include an API test as well. So we'll be using a lot of Chai interfaces and a lot of assertions from Mocha. So now but this is just an installation. This is just a mock. So we don't really need a lot. We just need describe. We just need it to make sure it's working. We're not testing another function inside. We're just testing it's simple math to make sure our test is working. Yeah. So let's describe the method with a string to like explain what this structure is really all about. So in this case, we are what do we do here now? Okay, we'll call this mock test. Mock test. And mock test. Yeah. So let me call back function. Yeah. So now we've created a structure. Now let's create individual tests inside our structure. That's when it comes in. So if it's also a method, takes a string that explains what that individual test is trying to solve or trying to do. So in this case, we are just, what we want to do now is to test some math, right? Like this plus this is equals to this plus this is equals to this, should be equals to this and that. So in this case, we want to test out, let's say, what should we test out? So let's say it should equal 1, should equal 2, sorry. So we are trying to do, what we want to do now is 2 should not equal 1. 2 is 2, so 1 is 1. So we want to test out if 2 is equals, if 2 is equals 2, it should return true. If 2 is not equals 2, then it should return false. Yeah, there's no addition or there's no calculation here. It's just a simple thing just to test this out. Okay, so this is also a callback function, and that's where, now this is where the expect comes in. So you see how cool Chai interfaces could be. So it's more like real life. It helps you explain it. You are expecting this. It's something everyone will easily understand, even when you read the test. So in this case, we're expecting 2. Let's say 2 equals 1, which should be false. So we're expecting it to equal false. Yeah. So this is the first test. Now let's create another mock test as well. Let's just add one mock test. Another individual test. So this is failing. This is for false. While we want this to be something that is true, something that is cool. Yeah, true and cool. Yeah. So this should return. This should return 10. Let's say this should return 10, or this should return. We say this should return 11. 11, so the callback function here. So we are expecting, let's say we're expecting 9 plus 2, right? To equal what? 11. So this should pass, right? So I guess this is more of the mock test would do. So let's run this and see. So as I said, we could use Mocha command on our terminal, or we could run npm run test since we've added it to the test. But let's do Mocha. Let's run Mocha in the Mocha command. This will fail. Our test will return an error. This will return an error. So there was a reason why it will return an error, and we will fix that up. Right? Yeah. So if we run this will return an error. Yeah. So the error to return is import chai unexpected and identifier. So this happens because we are writing ES6, and then our system doesn't understand that because this is the newest version of JavaScript or ECMAScript. So we have to make sure, we have to use Babel to run this so that, to help us run this test so I could understand the new version features we used. So to do that, there's a package for Babel called Babel Register. We have to install that as well. So if you check out package.json file, we don't have that in here. So let's install Babel Register, Babel. npm install Babel register. Yep, so Babel registering. Let's wait for this. So as we wait for this, let's also move on so that we don't take much time. So now what we want to do now is, if we still run npm test or run the mocha command, it will still fail because we haven't added something up here. That is why we need it. We need to add, that's why we installed Mocha as a dependency so that this could be possible. If we were using the old ECMAScript, then we just have to run Mocha and everything will run fine. So to do that, all we just need is to require Babel. The Babel we just installed right now, right? We need to require the Babel we just installed. So to require it, all we have to do is mocha -- register. Sorry, how's it called? Require, yeah, require. Then the Babel, we just Babel register, register, and then the, okay, let's just run this up and see. So now we are running npm run test. So this should, whoa, and that's it. So it's passing out. So it's been able to, Babel register has been able to help us run that test since we are using the newest version of the ECMAScript. Now, if you notice, we did not specify the test file we are running here. So if you had, if the folder you had created was a different name, you will have to specify it here, probably like, so if it's a probably like dog test, then everything inside the test and the rest. But since we didn't do that, since we are using what Babel could understand, so if it did not specify any path, Babel looks through your folders to find the folder with test, with the name test, and runs the files inside that has either spec or test. But if you specify the test path, Babel won't do that. Babel will just run that test path. So that's what happens. So now our test is passing because we are right. But what if we change this to 2? Our test will fail because it's not right. Yep, it's failing. It's supposed to be true because 2 is equal to 2. But now it's false because 2 is equal to 2 is not false. 2 is equal to 2 is true. So let's change that back to 1 and let's run our test. Yeah, it's not passing now. So if we change this up to, let's say this is 10, this should also fail because 9 plus 2 is not equal to 10, it's equal to 11. And see, it tells us what is equal to that as well. So this is how cool Babel Mocha is. That's why it's quite popular than the other test tools we have. We have so many other test tools. Yeah, so many. We have like AVA, AVA. But as well. So this is all. This is how easy it is to set up a Node.js with Mocha and Chai. Node.js test Mocha and Chai. So I hope this helps you. I hope this helps you set up as quickly as possible because nowadays there's no time to waste up on one thing. If you find it difficult to do one thing, try to search for answers up online so that you can continue and complete a certain task on time. So this all, and I hope it helps you, as I said before. So I have a description. On the description link, I've placed the GitHub link as well as the links to the Mocha documentation and Chai documentation, and also some of the links I talked about, or some of the things I talked about that you should read about. I'll put the links below so you check them out. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helped you out. If you have issues If you have something you want to say, something you want to ask, don't forget to put it on the comment section below. And you can also follow me on social media as well. I'm on Twitter. Follow me at Anayo Oleru on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, also the same name, Anayo Oleru. So follow me firsthand to get a lot of units, tutorials like this that could help you at any time or anytime you might feel blocked. And you can also reach out to me easily through those media as well. So thank you, and have a great dev week. Have a great dev month. Have a great dev year, as long as you want. As long as you want. All right. Goodbye. Thank you.